welcome to another episode of Mondays with Miko, one in which I do have a very small cold, but it's a very special day. It's January 17th, 2022, Martin Luther King's birthday, the day we celebrate his birthday, a national holiday. So I would be remiss if I didn't take just a few minutes to say some words on this very special day, especially seeing that tomorrow our elected officials in DC will vote on a pivotal Voting Rights Act. That means a lot. Okay, so I'm going to start with a video, pardon me, a video of a different look at the struggles of Martin Luther King um, and some of the more difficult times, some of the more challenging times that he had. And then I'll be back on. It's just a 1 minute video. And then I'll be back on. And then after the video, I do have some remarks I would like to share with you as I personally reflect on this very special day.
Somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. So just as I say, we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
When people get caught up with that which is right and they're willing to sacrifice everything, they're willing to sacrifice for it, there is no stopping point short of victory. This is a direct quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15th and died January 15th, 1929, and died April 4th, 1968. He was only 39 years old when he transitioned. At his birth, the enslavement of Africans in the United States of America had only officially ended 64 years ago. This means his grandmother, and surely his great-grandmother, was born into slavery. As an activist, I am inspired by the tenacity in which Dr. King went about his life and the sacrifices he made for the people, so that the people could have freedom and have better outcomes. Well educated he was. He was accepted and enrolled in Morehouse College at the young age of 15. He continued his education as a student at several seminaries. He used his wisdom to follow the call of God versus to set out for personal gain. I can only imagine, as Dr. King was pursuing his doctorate at Boston University, the dreams he had to be the beacon of change for people who look like him. Dr. King in his short life accomplished so much that we are mostly all aware of. He founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, organized the first Poor People's Campaign, stood in opposition to the Vietnam War, held numerous sit-ins, was arrested multiple times. He had tremendous challenges. Politicians, both good and bad, the media, the FBI, well-meaning but silent supporters, and often the very laws that were meant to oppress our people. It is unimaginable the amount of courage it took for Dr. King to do the things he did and to say the things that he said in the 60s. As I sit here today saying these words, it's because of Dr. King's sacrifice that I am able to freely register to vote and vote. It is because of his sacrifice that I protest without fear, knowing that Dr. King had to face dogs, guns, water hoses, and other violence. So now, here I am, 54 years after the death of Dr. King, and 157 years after the end of slavery, albeit still very challenging and difficult times for descendants of Africans enslaved in America. But I am encouraged. I am encouraged because of the great leadership of Dr. King. Dr. King's leadership has taught me to never give up. In Dr. King's own words, when people get caught up with that which is right and they are willing to sacrifice for it, there is no stopping point short of victory. Oh, there's another V for you guys. But that will come soon. Just hold on and be encouraged. We are all in this together. And because of Dr. King, our sacrifice can be simplified. Dr. King once said, "It's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself up by his own bootstraps." Those of us who are able to use our V's must do so. Be visible in our community, use our voice, and most importantly, vote. We have to make these very simple sacrifices for the future generations, for the bootless, for the hungry, and for those who are unreachable. Today, together, let's pledge to honor Dr. King's sacrifice and always exercise our V's. Let's be visible in our community. Let's use our voices and let's vote. So that's really all I wanted to say today. Today is an important day as we reflect on the life and legacy of the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., our legislators will vote on the difference between good and evil. It's mind-boggling to me that we have United States senators, Republican or Democrat, that can look at what's on the table and decide to turn away, to close a blind eye. But you know what? The power is still in the hands of the people. We have our V's. So despite what happens tomorrow, we press on. And I will be back to see you next Monday, hopefully without a cold. Have a wonderful Martin Luther King Day. Talk to you soon.